we were able to get our heads together and say, all right, that's what we're going to do. Let's set out and let's make that happen. So I'm really proud of those numbers. In 1991 or 1992, I joined the United Way. And I became a member of this thing they call, some of you will call it, and maybe it's still around, the Alexis de Tocqueville Society. I didn't know who Alexis de Tocqueville was. I realized how my New York education really, I was violated. How can I not know about Alexis de Tocqueville? Anyway, I found everything I want to know about Alexis de Tocqueville. I bought the books. And there are two, Democracy in America, there are two books, really thick. Democracy in America, I ordered them, and I very quickly realized I needed the Cliff Notes, the summary version of this. I tried to dig in there, but they were written in 1831. And Alexis de Tocqueville is a French aristocrat who came to the United States in an effort to learn more about the American story. There's this concept of equality, this concept of freedom that was uniquely American. And in the course of coming to America, he traveled throughout the United States for 9 months. And throughout that 9 months, he visited big cities, he was out in the wilderness and, walking trails, and just really worked hard to share the American experience. As a matter of fact, he met with 2 presidents. And one of them was Andrew Jackson. He met with 2 presidents at the time, and he met with the final surviving member who signed the Declaration of Independence in 1831. His name is Charles Carroll. I don't know why I know that, but anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. Imagine meeting somebody who actually signed the Declaration of Independence. And one of the observations he made was that Americans have this unique kind of weird need to associate. And he talked about this thing about associations. We associate civically, we associate in our communities, we associate in how we think. And that was so much different from the aristocracy that he was used to, hereditary, people just, growing up in a monarchy, and all of this. And so, but in the course of that, he said that need to associate, there is something that is uniquely American by the need to support not-for-profit, this concept of not-for-profit. I'm not gaining from this. I'm not personally going to get anything out of this, but I'm going to do it because it's for the betterment of the all. That is today still a uniquely American thought process. You should know that. And when I think about something that is uniquely American, I think about the YMCA, actually. The YMCA, what they do, cradle to grave, little babies coming in, little programs. Chris talked about some of them. I love the fact that they had the guts to push back. There was a need in the community. There were, moms needed somebody to watch their children because they were serving in emergency positions, and the YMCA stepped up. And I remember talking to Chris at the time. At the time it was like DeSantis hadn't come out yet against masks and, vaccines. This is all free. This is like the first 2 months of it all. And the Y's 6 feet apart, they're on the fields, and they're just like, no, we're filling a need. And then I asked, well, how much are we making to fill that need? And it was like, nothing. We're out there working. This is a community effort, and we're helping. And I thought, I'll be part of that all day long. I'm good with that all the time. And so I just love that about the YMCA. There's a lot of organizations, not-for-profit in this community that I think are just awesome. So I'm not trying to say one over the other. I think they are really important. I think they are really awesome. But among them is the YMCA. And I'm telling you, we have to have a vibrant, in order to have a vibrant community, you have got to have a vibrant YMCA. And you ask Rowdy, who knows about the Orange County, they shut down a lot of YMCAs. They just couldn't make it work. But in our community, we made it work. So we've turned the tide. We're solving a need. When I go to the YMCAs and I look at retirees and elderly doing jazzercise in the pool to loud, blasting Beach Boy music, and there's like 100 of our elderly in the community, it makes me feel so good. I just love that. I love that. And when I see little kids running around, and I see the little swim teams going, folks rehabbing, and then I see, you know, the folks in my community in the wellness center maxing out. And what's important is that we haven't relegated any one group off to some corner of society. We didn't say like, oh, you're supposed to just be in a nursing home, and you're just supposed to be in a kindergarten. It's the ability to interact, it's the ability for everybody to come together that I think is really important. That's the community I want to be a part of. And that's the community we have right now. We just have to continue to support it. So we're lucky because we have the people, the team here, and the YMCA who are willing to be really good stewards. And I love that about them. And the numbers here speak for it. The board has done a remarkable job. And I want to just say to our staff and our team and our board members, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm counting in every single time if you need something from the YMCA. So thank you. Done. So, you know, Chris took up a lot of my time, I felt like. But I want to tell you about the spirit of that heartfelt feeling about what the YMCA's do for our community is how I would like to introduce to you Rowdy Gaines. I want me to go. I'm not going through any more of that. You can, whatever slides are left, I'm not. My heartfelt feeling about Rowdy Gaines. Rowdy and I have been friends for I think about 15 years now. And we were introduced through a mutual friend, and we kind of connected. Of course, me, you know, I was like, oh, Rowdy Gaines, you know, back row, you know, cover of Sports Illustrated, and, you know, like the fastest swimmer in the world. But it's a great story. And I want to share it to you for 1 second so you fully appreciate this person who is the embodiment of what it is, I think, just a great American. And in 1980, he went to Auburn University, but in 1980, he was the fastest swimmer in the world. The 100 freestyle, the 200 freestyle, probably, he's very modest, but even Rowdy will kick me in the table for not mentioning all the events. But for sure, the 100, the 50, 100, and 200, let's call it. And in 1980, you'll recall that there was a boycott. Right? The president then, Jimmy Carter, we boycotted the Olympics because of a conflict we were having with Russia. And if you were a summer Olympic athlete who dedicated your life to being the best in the world, and now I'm going to represent my country in 1980, you do everything that's right, and now it just gets yanked from you, painful. And it's around my age group. I'm almost 60. It's around my age group. And so I know some of the other swimmers who those dreams were dashed. And back in those days, there wasn't really money in sport. Today, you know, I mean, Michael Phelps and Ryan Lochte are sort of at a different level, but, you know, their sponsorship, and it's another world. And so in 1980, Rowdy quit swimming after college. He quit swimming. And 6 months later, his dad talked him into it. Get back into it, and he was picking up, and I happen to know more about Rowdy than Selfie because he asked me to read his biography 6 or 7 years ago. We went to Australia. When we were in Australia, that's the book I was reading, and I was editing his. He asked me to help give an edit to his book, and so I did, and so I'm more familiar. Like I said, probably more familiar than I should be on his book, but just wonderful. And so he gets back into swimming, living on people's couches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, you know, the routine. He's got to make it to 1984. Fastest swimmer in the world. Come 1984, he was no longer the fastest swimmer in the world. He was a fast swimmer, but he was no longer the fastest swimmer in the world. And really was not viewed as a serious contender. I don't want to dismiss him too much. A contender, serious contender. He wasn't really viewed as a serious contender for the 84 Olympics. Keep in mind, no one else was. Like, no one from 1980 was there. Rowdy Gaines is doing it himself. He's trying out. He's trying to stick with the 100 freestyle. And when you go to Olympic trials, there's, I can't recall the number of events. How many events are there? 14? 26. All right, there we go. That's minute, okay, yeah. So actually, you got a little technical on me there. I wasn't that far off. And so it's the top two in each event that go. So you can be the fastest swimmer in the world, you can have the world record, but on one day, 2 months before the Olympics, you show up to trials and you come in third by a split second, you're not going to the Olympics. At least not in that event. So it's the top two, you gotta make it. So everything is building up. That's why it's called the fastest swim meet in the world. The US trials are considered the fastest swim meet in the world. So Rowdy goes and somehow secures the number 2 position on the US team. He gets in and gets the second slot, and he is not the center of attention for the 84 games going. But he's on the Olympic team, so he met his goal and his dream. Do we have a clip, right? Chris?
Yeah, we have one. Do you want to play it out?
So, no, I'll tell you what to play. Thank you.
Why you ask?
We have the clip question. It wasn't like, what should I do? That's 2 questions. No, but thank you, because I'm having fun with it. So, he is second. He makes it through the prelims. He makes it to the finals, and he actually is in the center lane, and he's swimming against an Australian. Honest to God, this guy jumps off that wall, ends up touching there and back, 50 meters each way, doesn't know if he's won. We have the clip of the race, so I think you're going to have fun watching it. It's way better when I do that. And when he comes in, doesn't know if he's won. And then when you see when he's won, you can just see another 4 years that he suffered to get to this point to make it happen. And by definition, you get on the relay team. So there's 2 more relay teams. So Rowdy gained, and by the way, the Australians challenged it because they said he jumped. He jumped before the gun. And so there was a period of time where it was challenged.